أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن علومك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. My brothers and my sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are halfway through this experience of Shahr Ramadan, the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray that Allah accepts all of your a'mal for the last 2 weeks and for the following 2 weeks to come. When the Prophet Muhammad was gathering his companions, telling them about this month, he told them that this month is a month in which Allah has invited us to be the guests at His table. And one has to really look into the words that the Ma'soom uses, because he doesn't use words for no reason. He says that we are invited to be a guest of God. Now, for example, I'm a guest here today, and since I got here, everyone's been so kind to me, and so generous, and so hospitable. Because in our culture and in our religion, the guest is something that is very sacred. We take the guest in to be a very sacred issue, and that's why in our traditions, even culturally, not even religiously, even culturally, when it comes to the guest, you honor the guest with everything that you have. So how would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if the Prophet is telling us that He has invited us to be a guest of His, how would Allah honor His guest? How is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to honor this guest? Usually you give your guest everything you have. Your best food and your best drink and your best room, and whatever you can give them, you give them of yourself. So how does Allah honor us? He's not giving us more food, that's for sure. He's not giving us more drink. Well, it depends what you say, what time. Sometimes, unfortunately, there's this professor in Lebanon, he was saying that Ramadan is a time when Muslims, they eat 2 big meals a year. That's how he defined it. Obviously, that's not what it should be. What it should be is the time in which Allah is allowing us to enter a new phase of our lives in which we're not constantly dependent upon carnal desire. And food and drink is that first step, that first layer. But it shouldn't stop there. In a hadith narrated to be from Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says that how many people by the end of Shahr Ramadan, all they had done was they stopped eating and they stopped drinking. That's all they had done. So that means he's looking at it as a mundane thing. That these people, all they did was they stopped eating for a month and they stopped drinking for a month. And it's so sad, that's all they did. They just emptied their bellies. Some people, they think that's the aim. The aim is to empty your belly. But he's saying that that's the bare minimum. That there's layers to what we do in this month. And if so far all we've done is just stopped eating and stopped drinking, at least for the remaining half of the month, to focus on the part of ourselves that is a deeper layer of fasting. Notice that in all the other actions that you do, when it comes to our tradition, you're constantly performing. You're giving khums. You're going to Hajj. You're performing your salat. You're giving charity. But when it comes to fasting, you're not doing. You're abstaining. You are not drinking and not eating. This abstaining is something that is supposed to be the main aspect of what we do in our tradition, to abstain from that which God has forbidden. In a hadith, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he asks Rasulullah, what is the best action that I can do in this month? And the Prophet tells him, al-wara' an maharimillah. Don't go towards that which Allah has forbidden for you. That's it. Not all the different a'mal that we do in Salatul Layl and du'as. We have so much selection, we're spoiled for choice. But the number one is to refrain, to abstain from that which Allah has forbidden for us. When you come towards Islam, a lot of the time, you want to become religious, you go towards doing all the actions to become spiritual, but you don't take away the actions that bring you down. And that part is the harder part. That's the part people don't enjoy as much. People might enjoy waking up in the middle of the night. Some people enjoy that. Waking up in the middle of the night before Fajr to speak to Allah. And that's something Allah loves. But if I'm still sinning when I'm doing that, I need to make sure that I clean my cup before I allow the rain to fill it with water, so that I don't fill up with dirty water. To abstain is the beginning. So what do we abstain from? The first layer is food and drink. The second layer of fasting is to fast with your eyes, to fast with your ears, to fast with your tongue. And of course, what is haram outside of Shahr Ramadan is haram inside Shahr Ramadan. But when you're fasting, you're supposed to be more aware of this. Fasting of the eyes, ears, and tongue. To fast from what the eyes shouldn't see. To really be conscious about guarding your eyes. To abstain, a deeper layer of fasting. From what you're supposed to hear, from backbiting and gossip. Or what you're saying, from swearing, or even you, God forbid, backbiting. Or music, or whatever else it is. At least for this month, you tell yourself, I'm going to abstain from those things which enter my soul and bring me down from my potential. But there's an even deeper layer to that. And this is the deepest layer, and this is what someone should aim for. And this is for the elite. But this is what we all should be aiming for. To fast beyond the eyes, the ears, and the tongue. And to fast beyond the stomach is to fast with your heart. To fast with your heart is different. Fasting with your heart is to really believe in La ilaha illallah. We say that a lot. We say La ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah before every prayer. But do you know how heavy it is to live La ilaha illallah? It's very heavy. If you really want to be a muwahhid, tawheed, you have to have a tawheedi worldview. A lot of us, brothers, we have beards, we wear rings, sisters wear hijab. But outside, the way we live our lives, we're living our lives just like any other Tom, Dick, and Harry. We see the world like any other person. So what's the difference between the way I see the world and the way the guy that's with me at work sees the world? Or the guy with me at school sees the world? He's kafir, I'm Muslim. The only difference between us though, he sees the world same as me. All I think about is how I can gain money, or how I can gain the attention of the opposite gender, or how I can do all these things, what my life is based on. But I move up and down 5 times a day, I don't eat pork, and I don't drink alcohol. That's the difference. Is that what's supposed to make me a Muslim? Is that what La ilaha illallah actually means? To move up, down 5 times a day makes me a Muslim? That differentiates me from someone else? Or is there a worldview to Tawheed? To believe in Allah truly, there's a way in which you see the world. A paradigm by which you see the world. You see the world through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you see the world, you interact with the world, but Allah is constantly on the forefront of your mind so that you fit your life around Allah. You don't fit Allah around your life. You make a life for yourself and you fit Allah around that. That's not what it's supposed to be. A muwahhid, a true muwahhid, you fast with your heart. So think, the way that I live my life, how often is Allah on my mind and what Allah wants from me? Do I ask myself that question? That's a very important question, by the way. Ya Allah, what do you want from me? What do you want from me today? What do you want from me next week? And what do you want from me in my lifetime? How do you want me to respond to this? The way these people treated me, they didn't treat me very well. How do you want me to respond to that? How do you want me to respond to my wife, my daughter, my son? How do you want me to respond to my parents? How do you want me to act? How do you want me constantly thinking, Ya Allah, what do you want from me? Instead of fitting in what you want and making it seem like the Imam said that, or Allah said that. A Tawheedi worldview is to fast with your heart. La ilaha illallah means to fast with your heart. It means to get rid of the idols. The idols today are not statues. They're not Allat, wal-Uzza, wa-Hubal. They're not these statues that people worship. They are idols in the heart. What is your life based on? And what do you gravitate towards? And what's your denominator? That is an idol that you grow towards and you build your life upon. But we have to remove all those idols from our hearts. Everything, to fast only with Allah in mind. That means even the people that we love in our lives can become idols. Even the people that we love. Because if that person becomes the meaning of why I live my life, I've made a new God for myself. And some people, that's what they rely upon. My wife, and some of you will meet her today, inshallah, she studies philosophy in the American University of Beirut. And she thinks very highly of her professors. And one time, and I call this department the atheist department, not the philosophy department, because everyone that goes in, they always come out atheist. So she was one of the only ones that went in with hijab and came out with hijab. So it was like this was a glory, it was a victory, that she kept hijab on. So he would see her, the way that she would wear a hijab, and the books that she'd bring into the department were, scholars, our scholars, U'alama Tabataba'i's philosophy, she would bring that in. And the professor was intrigued. And for years he taught her, and one time he told her this, and I always bring the story up. He sat with her and he said, Zahra, don't end up like me. And this is someone that she thought very highly of, so she thought, why? Why do you say that? He says, because every single day, when I wake up in the morning, I have to reevaluate reality. There's a certain level that some people get to. They read so much, and they get so lost in the books, and they start to gravitate to all these different ideas, they don't know what's real anymore. It's like, you know everything, but you know nothing. You can't take a position. He doesn't know what's real anymore. So he's in doubt, in an existential crisis. He doesn't know, and when you live like that, nihilism is scary. Sure, no responsibility, but I don't have a meaning for my life. If you check on YouTube right now, write down Richard Dawkins visits school. He goes to the school, the little kids are saying, what's the meaning of life? Richard Dawkins says, there is no meaning. There's no meaning. There's no difference between me and this microphone. There's no difference. The meaning of this microphone is same as me. It has no basis and no foundation, and neither do I. I'm just a machine, a robot, grown over time. He said to her, the way I stay sane is my children. I have kids, I find meaning in my kids. And great, a lot of people do that because they need something to hold on to. But what we're saying is hold on to something that is there forever. Don't hold on to something that will die one day, because if it dies, then where will you go? Where will you go? Because it's limited. Like before I came, there was a sister, she was having faith issues. We're sitting with her trying to talk about, religion. And then my teacher said, Kuluna abid lillah. We are all the slaves and servants of Allah. And she goes, no, I'm not a abd. Don't say I'm a abd. I'm not a servant. You're a servant. You're a abd. I'm not a abd, as if it was offensive. I say, okay, well, what's your life based on? What opinions? What do you follow? She goes, Ana. I follow my opinions. All right, great. So you are a abd of Ana. You're a abd of yourself. Everyone follows something. Everyone believes in something. Even not to have a belief, that's a belief. That's a belief. So you believe in something. You believe in no belief. Everyone believes. So you believe and you follow yourself. The difference is your Lord, which is you get sick. You don't know everything. You're going to die one day. You're weak. I follow a Lord. He's strong. He's never going to die. He lives forever. He knows everything. You can be a abd of Ana. I'll be a abd of Allah. People, they don't want to be a follower because there's idols in the heart. Sometimes the idol is yourself. Sometimes you're bowing down and your idol is yourself. You're bowing down to yourself. The highest level of fasting is to abstain from following any other idol than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To follow what Allah wants from us. That's why one needs to look very deeply into their soul and really check on themselves every now and then. Because you don't want to fall into compound ignorance when you don't know that you don't know. It's very hard to wake you up if you don't know that you don't know. Because someone comes and tells you, say, I know, but you don't know. So you need to constantly check up on yourself to see, am I awake or am I in ghafla? Sometimes we are asleep for a while, we don't realize it. You really have to ask yourself, and you have to check in on yourself. This is a good time to check in. This time of abstention is a good time to check in. That none of us are safe. I need to really look inside and see, am I okay? Because deep within, one finds an enemy that is like a small ant on a stone, in a dark forest, in the darkest night. You don't know it, but it's there, and it's doubt. Doubt. Now, doubt comes in two forms. There is a certain doubt that is healthy, that is the beginning of knowledge. That's when you question. مفتاح العلم السؤال. The key to knowledge is to question. You should question. Sometimes doubt is a bridge towards certainty. That's a good type of doubt. But sometimes doubt goes too far, shak goes too far, and it becomes something that brings you small diseases in your heart that you don't notice very easily, and you have to be very, very aware to notice them. So doubting in, for example, the akhirah, doubting in the next life, that creates diseases in your hearts and consequences now that you will feel now. You will grow to become a coward or a very stingy person if you doubt in the akhirah. One who has certainty in the akhirah, they don't mind what they give of themselves in this life, because they know to do business with Allah means to give everything I have here. Because you know Allah is always going to give you more, and you have certainty about that. When are you going to get more? Next world. You believe in the next world. If you have doubt in the next world, why would you give away from yourself? You're not going to get anything back. So you start to hold on a little bit more. You start to keep a little bit more for yourself. Or if you look at some of the videos of the shuhada before they go, they're smiling. They're in complete sakina. How come? Because they know. They're certain. Allah opened their hearts. They can see the akhirah in front of them. So they're very brave and courageous. But then, someone else who doubts, they don't have that courage. They have cowardice in their hearts. You have to be very careful to fall into doubt in very simple issues like the akhirah, because it can completely change your personality. But when you believe in akhirah, you're different. You're courageous and you're generous. Or to doubt in the uluhiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very relevant to what I mentioned about fasting with your heart. Uluhiyyah of Allah is divinity of Allah. That only Allah is worthy of worship, no one else. That I shouldn't be bowing down or worshipping anyone else. And it sounds simple enough, right? La ilaha illallah. But really, is that how I live my life? What if it's not just me following idols? What if I want to be the idol? Sometimes we want to be the idol in people's hearts because we want everyone to love us. I want you to like me. I want you to love me. I want you to think I'm great. I want you to think I'm beautiful. I want you to think I'm smart. I want you to praise me. I want your heart. That's how we act. We want people's hearts. We want to gain their hearts. It's a very normal human instinct to want hearts, to want people to fall in love with you. You want people to like you because it makes you feel better about yourself. Validation. But really and truly, what you're doing is you're competing with God. It's not your heart. These hearts aren't for you. They're for Allah. Allah malikul qulub. Allah is the owner of the hearts. Qalb al-mu'min arshur rahman. The heart of the believer is the shrine of the merciful one. Don't let anyone else into the shrine and the throne of the merciful one except the merciful one. So if you let someone into your heart, independent of Allah, or you try to gain other people's hearts, that's a disease. We call it riya. Riya, to show off. Maybe at home, the way in which you pray, but then the girl you like comes into the masjid and then you become Imam Khomeini all of a sudden. Right? Because you want her heart. But really, the genuine person is the one who is with Allah in public as they are in private. You're not doing it to gain people's hearts. You're not doing it for their hearts. You do it because you worship Allah in private and in public. So you know that I don't let anyone else into my heart except Allah. And if I'm going to love anyone, even my spouse, even my parents, even my kids, it's through Allah. People misunderstand me sometimes. I want to emphasize, if you love them through Allah, you love them more. You don't love them less. Because they think, oh, I shouldn't love my kids. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. Love them more because you love them infinitely. They don't die and it stops. It's love beyond dunya, love forever. Love through Allah is love forever. That's real love. Real love. In kuntum tuhibbun Allah fattabi'uni yuhbibkum Allah. If you claim to love Allah, follow me, Allah will love you. Allah says, Allah will love you. Quoting Rasulullah. He says, Allah will love you. Hub. Allah is using that same word, hub. Hal ad-din illa al-hub. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Hal ad-din illa al-hub. It's love. But love of Allah. That's real love. Everything else is a symbol and sign. Everything else that you interact with in terms of love is a symbol and sign of Allah. Everything else. Ultimately, it's supposed to let you reach Allah. You want to fast with your heart from trying to gain the hearts of people. Allah Malikul Qulub, not you. And for you to also give your heart to other than Allah. But doubt in Allah's divinity is what brings you there. It brings you riyā. Doubt in Allah's justice brings you envy. Should have been me, not him. That's Satan's disease. Satan said that. Oh, why did that person receive the praise? I was smarter than them. I was better than them. How come they made it? I didn't make it. I was always better. Envy. You doubt in Allah's justice. As if Allah, you shouldn't have done that. Astaghfirullah. Right? You know better? That's doubt. You have to have tawakkul. Certainty. Or we doubt in the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We doubt in His greatness by showing our greatness. How so? Imagine two scenarios. In one scenario, your little brother walks into the room. He's holding a cup of juice. And then he drops it. And it spills all over the floor. And then you say, you stupid, you this, you that, you don't know what you're doing, get out of it. But then the Maulana walks into the room and he drops the cup. You clean it yourself. Or your fiancée enters the room and she drops the cup. What do you do there? Say, Habibti, I'll clean it up. Right? Always different with the girl you like. Why? What's the difference between two scenarios? Both people entered the room and dropped a cup of juice. Why do I get angry at one, not the other? Why? Why? Because you think you're better than your little brother. That's why. You're not better than the Maulana, and you don't think you're better than your spouse yet. Hopefully never. Huh? Why? Because ana akbar. Ana akbar minnak. I'm bigger than you, I'm greater than you. Allahu Akbar. Not you. Allahu Akbar. Not you. So when I deal with people who are weaker than me, I have to be very, very wary that I'm not dealing with them in a way in which ana akbar, that I'm coming to them with a form of greatness within my own self, that I try to impose myself on them. One has to be very careful. Allahu Akbar. To have certainty in Allah's greatness makes you humble. Gives you humility in how you interact with people. To be gentle with those that are weaker than you. Gentle with those that are smaller than you. So Allah will be gentle with you. Allah is the greatest, there's nothing else. But all these doubts can be solved with certainty. Yaqeen. And this journey is a journey towards certainty. We have to be very careful about doubt and where doubt takes us. As I said, doubt is good as a bridge towards knowledge. But that's where it should stop. I have a lot of questions. I've been carrying questions for many years. Sometimes I'll read something and I'll ask around and then I find the answer. And sometimes I don't find the answer and it's okay. I take a little step back, I wait. Sometimes it takes a year or two to get the answer. Sometimes it takes longer, and that's okay. Do I fall apart? No, I don't fall apart. You have to be very careful from falling apart because you don't get the answer that you want when you want it. There's a way in which we are supposed to follow. We have a system, a very strong system with a very strong foundation. We have to follow that system. We have 2 more weeks in this month to follow the way Allah wants us to follow Him. And the way Allah wants us to follow Him ultimately, when we fast with our hearts, is to go to Him in the way that He wants us to go to Him. And He wants us to go to Him ultimately. The best piece of advice that one can give is to go to Him through His gate. That's the way He wants us to go to Him. So in the remaining 2 weeks that I have, let me try to build a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I really want to believe La ilaha illallah, I do what Allah wants me to do. I go to Allah through His gate. The gate Allah wants me to enter through. Let me build a connection with that gate. Let me talk to Him. Let me talk to the Imam. Build a relationship where you're talking with the Imam. Constantly. You wake up in the morning, you sit down, you send your salams to the Imam. Really, you build a relationship with him that He's present and He's there. You don't let doubt get in your way. Doubt is the disease of the time. The time right now, the disease of the time is subjectivity and relativity. You can't be certain of anything. You have your truth, I have my truth. Even if it's the most basic thing ever, now it's your truth and my truth. You can't even prove it. Yani wallah, soon, I think they're going to make you doubt in pure mathematics. Yani that's your equation, this is my equation. That's where we're going. Wallah, that's where we're going. Don't let doubt ruin your relationship with the Imam. And that's why I wanted to read this narration for you. And it's a narration where Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is speaking to Zurara. He's telling him about the end of times. Zurara is a companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And I like to bring these books, and I do this not only here, by the way, because this book is called Al-Kafi. This is our main hadith book, written in the time of the Ghaiba al-Kubra, just when it started, by a man named Sheikh al-Kulayni. And if you're Shia, you have to have this book at home. This is all the teachings of the Imams are in this book. Like, it doesn't make sense to be Shia and not have this book. You have to have it. And the first few editions have been translated to English for those of you that want to read it in English. But this is very important. You want to know why you know everything that you know? It's all here. The Imams had companions. They would write down their teachings. All those teachings from the Imam's companions were gathered in these books. This is the first one, the most important one according to many of our scholars, okay? So very important to have this book. طيب, this narration, I really like this narration. It has a beautiful dua in it, and I wanted to share this dua with you because it's a dua even at a time of relativity, subjectivity, and doubt. So the Imam, he's saying, Zurara says, I heard Abu Abdullah say the following: Inna lil ghulami ghaybatan qabla an yaqum. That the young boy, he will go into a ghayba before he returns. And Zurara, he kind of panics when he starts telling him about the end of time. So Zurara's like, walima. And the Imam tells him, he points to his belly and he tells him, they want to kill him. Yakhaf, because they want to stab him, they want to kill him. So then the Imam says, Ya Zurara, wa huwa al-muntadhar. He is the awaited one. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُشَكُّ فِي وِلَادَتِهِ. And he is the one that they're going to doubt in his very birth. As some say, even from Shia scholars that get lost on the way. So no one is safe. There was a man named Shalmaghani. Shalmaghani was in the time of the Imam. Shalmaghani thought he was going to be the first ambassador of Imam Mahdi, and he wasn't. So what did he do? He went to start something on his own. Even though he's a companion of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, very trusted in our narrations. He's very important in our narrations, Shalmaghani, and then he went astray. So even, no one is safe. Even people of the greatest order, they get lost. Be very careful. The Imam says, and he's telling you this before it happens. Subhanallah, he says that they doubt in his birth. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ, and others they're going to say, مَاتَ أَبُوهُ بِلَا خَلَفٍ. His father died and never had a child. Al-Askari alayhi salam died, never had a child. وهو المنتظر غير أن الله عز وجل يحب أن يمتحن الشيعة. Allah, He loves to test the real Shia. You know, the real Shia, you have to work hard to be one of the real Shia. And Allah is going to test those people, the elite of the elite. فعند ذلك يرتاب المبطلون يا زرارة. Very important. يرتاب المبطلون. The people of batil and falsehood, they're going to doubt. They're going to lose it. They'll lose the plot. Be very careful, because it looks like on the outside, it can look like you're on haqq, and you are of those that are the mubtilun. يرتاب المبطلون. They're going to doubt and lose themselves in relativity and subjectivity. There's no order and foundation to what they believe. So Zurara is panicking right now when he's thinking about this time, and he says, قلت جعلت فداك إن أدركت ذلك الزمان أي شيء أعمل. If I am in that time, what should I do? In this time when everyone is doubting and no one knows where to go, what should I do? يا زرارة إن أدركت ذلك الزمان. If you are in that time, فادعوا بهذا الدعاء. Recite this dua. And you guys may know this dua. Very important dua. Start to read it in your qunut. Imam Sadiq says, read that in times of uncertainty. اللهم عرفني نفسك فإنك إن لم تعرفني نفسك لم أعرف نبيك. Lord, allow me to know you. If you don't bring me to know you, I won't know your prophet. Allahumma arifni rasulak. Notice how he said Rasul, not Nabi right now, because there's a message. Rasul now, because I want to know the message. Not just the Prophet, I want his message too. Allahumma arifni rasulak, فإنك إن لم تعرفني رسولك لما أعرف حجتك. Let me know your Rasul, your messenger, the message. And if you don't show me the messenger, I won't know your hujjah. The proof of Allah on earth, the one I follow and obey. Allahumma arifni hujjatak. Lord, allow me to know your hujjah. فإنك إن لم تعرفني حجتك ضللت عن ديني. He says, Lord, let me know your hujjah. If I don't, I would have gone astray from my deen. It's so scary. Really think about this dua. ضللت عن ديني, dal, misguided. Notice, look at the intricacies, how he connected everything as a foundation. Allah, Nabuwah, Rasul, Hujjah. And to go backwards is the same thing. It's one rope. There's a portal. Okay? There's a reason why he connects it all. Contemplate over this. When you hear the words of the Imams, sometimes you think, okay, contemplate over layers upon layers and depths upon depths. This narration, this dua, I really wish and advise we can go home and really think about why the Imam recited the dua in that order. Why does he start with Allah and then goes to the Prophet and then mentions the messenger, changes the word, and then hujjah? Why? Why is he connecting them all? Okay, contemplate upon that. Inshallah, we'll continue this upstairs in a Q&A format, and we'll be interactive. Alhamdulillah, thank you guys for being patient and sitting through that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin.